Well, welcome back, everybody. Great leaders share certain traits. They're always leaders as learners. We've talked about that before, but they're also leaders as teachers. And in my 40 years, I don't know that I've seen a CIO who is more committed, more intentional, and more consistent in knowing, growing, engaging, and attracting the best people out there. And that is Ken Piddington. Ken is the ultimate example of what it means to live out the leader as teacher mantra. And like all great leaders, Ken is also a world-class communicator. He knows that words matter. He's intentional with words, his messaging. And so over the years, every time I've interacted with him, I would take note of his expressions, those Ken-isms. And these aren't just clever lines. These are teaching tools. These are things that have purpose. And so a while back, I challenged Ken, you got to document these. You got to capture these in one place so we can shine the light on them. And so that's what we're going to do today on Tech Whispers. And there are so many of them, in fact, that I had to bucket them. I put them into 8 different buckets. And so we're going to kind of chunk these up into what I'll call the Ken Piddington Leadership Excellence Playbook. So Ken, welcome to Tech Whispers. And I know when I challenged you to capture your Ken-isms, you took it on with a kind of gusto that only you could muster. And so I hope the challenge turned out to be a good one, turned out to be a great exercise, and there was not a lot of cursing along the way.
No cursing. It was actually really good, and I'm glad you pushed me to go do it. It's something I probably should have done a long time ago, and it really got me to think about these Ken-isms and helped a lot in just thinking about my leadership. So I appreciate your push. So no cursing.
All right, that's good news.
Worth it exercise.
Well, this is long overdue. We've done a lot of panels, a lot of collaborations together, and I've been looking forward to this. So thanks for making time. And so really quick, the stunning background there, can you just tell us what that is?
Yeah, it's a new background we put together here at RelaDyne, representing our 2 main brands, RelaDyne and Suncoast, the little American flag, a lot of what we do out in the community, and this big splash of oil since we sell lubricants and motor oil and fuel. It's really pretty cool. So it's brand new. I saw it this morning and said, I got to put this up on my background today.
That's a good one. Yeah, it pops. It pops. Well, Ken, so what I've done is I've taken all these Ken-isms and I've lumped them into 8 buckets. Let's call them 8 buckets of just gold, like leadership wisdom. And there's stories that come with these. And so what I thought we'd do is just kind of chip away through them. The first bucket is such a sweet spot for you. It's a blind spot for most people. It's a sweet spot for you. But the first bucket is around people, talent, making your people a force multiplier. You really lean in. And so we're going to dedicate the entire CIO.com article to that topic. But maybe just to get us warmed up here, maybe just give us a little flavor for maybe one of the great Ken-isms here.
All right, there's a bunch, but I think I was kind of leaning in on leaders grow leaders. I think that's a really important. Also, there's a whole bit about teach them to fish is probably my other top one in that area. But as I think about my career and what people have done for me and helping me grow to where I am, because we didn't get here by ourselves, right? I've looked really back at what I've been able to try to do within my teams, what I've helped do outside of the organization, and I was kind of counting it up. I know you and I've talked before about some other great CIOs who's like, well, I've got 10 different CIOs that were my direct reports that are now CIOs at these other companies, and I'm like, all right, well, between my former companies and different leadership programs that I've had the privilege of working with, I think I'm at 8 right now that have moved on either as a CIO or a CISO. And so, I hadn't thought about that till this, but it really is about leaders grow leaders. And the more you can do that, I think it's amazing what you're giving back to somebody else, but it's also helping your own career and your own organization just be that much better and stronger. And so I think it's really been part of what fuels me and continuing to do that.
Well, I think I find that great leaders are intentional about that. It's not an accidental thing. It's not when it's convenient. You just do it naturally, organically, purposefully. And so I actually know some of those 8. So our first mystery question is going to be one of those people, Ken. So let's listen in and see if you recognize this voice. Tell us a little bit about them, and then you're going to love the question. So let's listen in.
Based on the journey that we've been together, I've seen you develop your teams. How do you balance delivering business results while investing time in developing your team's careers and growth and their maturity? I'm a perfect example of that, of the time that you invested and spent in helping me grow. So I would love to understand, how you go about doing that so that it can benefit others.
That's Mohammed Sharif, the now CIO at US Silica, was my VP of IT. When I was there, a great leader. And yes, I have got to spend a lot of time with Mohammed while we were working together at US Silica. And as US Silica was sold to private equity, getting him promoted up into that seat as I was ready to take on my next chapter. And getting him prepared. And we spent a lot of extra time doing that. In fact, I think we texted just this weekend on some items and continue to stay in touch. It never, that mentorship or coaching, that really never ends. So
Yeah. Thank you,
but
Mohammed. So dig into his question.
yeah, great question. It is, you think about that balancing between developing my people and the business results. I mean, to me, developing our people is part of the business results, right? We as a company can't get to the results we want without great people. And, organizations and the needs are constantly evolving. So must our people in order to do that. So again, without great people, great things at an organization can't happen. You can't deliver the high quality outcomes that are expected. I think spending time developing people is all part of the strategy for delivering on those business results. It's not just about our technology. We got to do this ERP system, or we've got to, work on cybersecurity or whatever other initiative we have going on. The people have to be prepared to do that, which means strengthening your leaders. And when so much is coming at us from a speed perspective, and we never have enough demand to meet the supply of requests that are out there, and the things that we could do to add value to our organizations. One of the best ways you can manage that is by strengthening the supply that you do have, right? Building them up, enabling them to do more and do it better, show up at the best version of themselves. So, I mean, I don't think about it as two different things. To me, it's all part of one thing. And it's also, I feel it's the right thing to do. I think I have been very intentional in spending that time to develop people, probably more so later in my career than I was earlier in my careers. I've thought, you think about your legacy as you're getting ready to maybe retire someday, right? You want to make sure that you are leaving it better than what you found it. And that means the organization, and particularly all its people. And again, I said, the pace of change in technology, the ecosystems we operate in, those business needs moving so quickly, I think you're doing your company, your people, and yourself a disservice if you don't find that time to actively and intentionally, very purposefully work on improving the skills of your people, leveraging their strengths, looking at where those areas, I don't like to say weaknesses, those opportunities to strengthen or improve upon an area, and going ahead and doing that, I really think makes a difference. So to me, it's not balancing; it's all part of delivering on the business results.
Yeah, so good. And you are definitely the chief intentional officer on these items. And like I say, there's a number more of those Ken-isms on the people talent side we're going to get to in the article. But I want to pivot over to another bucket, another area that you're really strong at, which is really helping people with purpose, with vision, connecting them to the North Star, to the things that matter. There's probably 6 or 8 of these. You can kind of cherry pick them, but I'm going to let you know a couple of my favorites, right? One is vision is velocity. Another one is anchor the why. And you just bring such great clarity for people, direction, help them understand why it matters. So have some fun with purpose and vision, Ken.
Yeah, you hit the vision, and velocity is a great one. It's all about that speed and understanding and clarity. I really love the operate at the speed of business, and I think that's one that we people could be challenged with, and obviously anchor in the why. I mean, it's the why is critical. Whether we understanding our why, anchoring our why, getting behind the why, whatever phrase you want to use, but mine's been about anchoring in the why, is so critically important to keeping everybody on track, understanding why are we doing this? How do I impact what's going on? Why does it matter? It's getting behind that purpose. And the velocity one, or operate at the speed of business, is important as well, because we are going so fast, but it isn't the pedal to the metal all the time. We have to understand how we adjust based on where the business needs, the cycles that we go through. So, it's hard to operate at the speed of business when you don't really understand the why of what you're being asked to do. When we know where we're going, we know why we're going there, it's easier to do the right things. So I think it's important to continually communicate that over and over and over again. I played a lot of sports through high school and college, and so much of that is there too. We go through a week's worth of practice getting ready for our football game. And while we were talking about the plays and we're trying to dissect and create a strategy, we understood the why. The why is to win that game, right? And then how do we take these different plays and apply them, which is our projects and other initiatives we do from a technology perspective, that are going to help us achieve that goal. And it's much easier for me to get behind this particular play in sport where maybe I'm not the featured person who's getting the ball and I've got to run down there and block. But I understand the why I have to do that, because we're trying to achieve a particular goal, which is get ourselves in the end zone and win that game. And in this particular scenario, against whatever that defense is bringing to us, my blocking in this particular example is better for the team than me being the one who gets the ball and is trying to run in the end zone, just by the nature of what we have to do. And it's the same thing when you think about the people on your team. They can get behind the why if we're trying to score that touchdown. They can better understand the role they need to play in order for us to deliver that. And so not only do I have a lot of these isms, I like to connect all these stories to football games and baseball games or golf or even my kids' musical theater, and finding a way to connect that. But again, when your team understands the why and how, whatever the task is, and how it's connected to those goals and objectives of the company, I think you really can get a much better outcome and more likely that you'll be successful. We're going to fail sometimes. We're not always going to be perfect. But it is certainly true with these big projects, but same goes for daily tasks. We think about what a person in your service desk has to do, and making sure that someone in sales has the equipment working consistently for them day in and day out. Well, there's a why there as well, because you are impacting their ability to sell our product, to make our cash register work, to do what we do as a company. And you have a big role. If you can't provide the equipment they need and working time, well, you're hurting our business. You have to understand that why and how your role applies, and why you're maybe doing some of the blocking and the sales guys getting to run with the ball into the end zone. But together it's a team that ultimately is delivering on those results.
Yeah. We call that the service spiral, right? All those different parts of the chain, they all matter. And so Ken, know you've got British heritage. When you say football, which football do you mean? You mean the like the real one, the American one, or?
Oh, I mean the American one, the real.
Okay.
That's, to me, that's the real one. That other thing's just soccer thing. No, I mean the real one where we get to not just football, not just kick it. We get to throw the ball, catch the ball, run with the ball. Yeah, that's what I did through high school and college. So,
What position? What was your best position?
wide receiver. I was
Oh,
a
right.
receiver in high school and college. Also played defense in high school as a safety, but I was a receiver. I like to catch the ball, run, so I could score those touchdowns. But I was pretty good at blocking downfield for our running backs. So
Very good. I am not surprised. Well, Ken, I love where we're going with this. This is so fun. And I've got another mystery questioner who's
okay.
known you a long time. She's seen you in different capacities. She knows your superpowers. And I think she had a hard time coming up with, actually, I think she sent me 3 or 4, but I picked the one that I thought would be great for our conversation. So listen into this one.
Ken, it's clear that you've put a great deal of thought into how your team engages across the organization, particularly with the One RelaDyne initiative. Can you share a specific example, perhaps even before this initiative or at a point earlier in your career, that really underscored the importance of relationship building and strategic thinking? Maybe a moment when you saw a member of the team step over the wall and shift from an order taker mindset to a more collaborative approach. And what made that instance stand out for you in terms of developing your people?
That's a great question. And yeah, someone who has known me for a long time. But really, I think about the three things in here about strategic thinking, relationship building, and the kind of that aha moment of the importance of all of this is you kind of got to see the fruits of those labors and you really feel that proud moment when you kind of see somebody changing for the better, and you go, hey, I helped do that. I provided a little bit of guidance, and they listened here, took a couple, hopefully some of those nuggets away, and it had a real impact for their career and for your organization. So as I think about it from a strategic thinking, for me, it goes all the way back to a job I had summers from home from college. I worked for a masonry supply company. I started working in the yard, loading customer trucks, right? Making like $5 an hour. But the owner became a great mentor and friend to me, really took me under his wing, chose to teach me the business. He had three daughters. He was third generation running the company. And so I was kind of a little bit of the son he didn't have. But I ended up from working in the yard to driving a truck, doing inside and outside sales, customer service. I did accounting, I did the technical, I did the finance, everything to run that business. And it's what he taught me about doing that. It's something I lean back on all the time and looking at it. But he really, through not just learning the business, it was through his guidance and mentorship that I learned about how the foundation of business strategy and the importance of strategic thinking, regardless of my role, whether I was working in the yard, being the face to a customer when they came in and providing quality service, there was a purpose behind that. I had to think and understand what we were doing as a company to deliver the right product onto that truck, to give them the sort of that made them want to come back. And as I moved on in my career there into inside and outside sales, you were understanding the strategy of what we were trying to do, the products we were trying to sell. And it was through his guidance that I really learned that importance. So ultimately getting to do finance and inventory management and really helping shape and move the company forward, which is proud to say is still in business today. And I want to say, I've been gone for 20 something, 30 years now. And it's almost a 100-year-old company today, if not just over that. And I still talk to him and I still go back, and his daughters do run the company today. But it's a great area. But that's really was my foundation, and I think in strategic thinking, my foundation in a lot of what I do when I think about business. But in relationship building, again, this goes back to great mentors and people we got to work with. When I took on my first CIO role in Massachusetts for Global Partners, the interim CIO who helped put me into the role gave me some great advice and guidance kind of on his last day. He said, hey, you're moving to Massachusetts from Texas. You're moving into this role as CIO at a multi-billion-dollar publicly traded company. He says, you've got a lot of great industry relationships in Texas, but you don't really have the relationships in the company or with your CIO community. He goes, you need to focus on intentionally building your network and building those relationships inside and outside the company. He goes, you're going to need to lean on those to be successful. And he's like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Lean on the other CIOs that are here out in this great community in Massachusetts, up in the Boston area, where you and I met. And he goes, lean on them. They've been there, done that, learn from their mistakes, learn from their successes, build those relationships inside this organization. We were a trading company in the petroleum space. You're going to need those relationships to get things done. And it was great advice and stuff that I've applied throughout. If you look at my LinkedIn profile, you look at the people I know people all over the place, and it's also been intentional in building those relationships inside and outside your organization. And even today, on the relationship building, one of the things we did with IT Skill Builder is about that communication and collaboration. And I felt that my team needed to be stronger with their relationships. We've grown through so much acquisition that people don't know everybody in all these little companies that we've blended together. So we're intentional about asking people to say, I want 5 people that you're going to strengthen your relationship with. I want to know why. I did this with all my direct reports and encourage them to do that into their direct reports. But who are those 5 people? Why do you feel that they would be good to strengthen a relationship with? And what's your strategy going to be? And we talk through that. We might make a few adjustments in the people and then kind of set them on their way. And then our normal one-on-ones, we'll check in and go, well, how's it going? What can I do to help with all of that, both in the strategy or kind of, maybe there's a conversation I need to have with John over here to help you in your relationship building. So it's really been important. It's something I push down to my team. But, as I think about the last part of the question, kind of that aha moment and seeing somebody, really seeing someone change. There was a member of my team, really high potential, but they were a bit young and immature. They were very focused, completing their task at hand, but they missed the big picture. They really didn't know how to expand their ability to create and add value to the organization. They were very kind of blinders on, do my thing, really weren't being seen as that high potential in the organization. But something in me, I knew it was there. So again, early in my career, there was a bunch of coaching going on, maybe not as intentional about it as I am today, because I was still figuring out how to be the leader that I really needed to be. But I started to see his maturity and started really living up to his true potential, ultimately becoming a true team leader, well respected in the company, and someone I would put on my team. Any organization I'm ever at, any given moment, I would hire him to be a part of that. Plus I had put 4 people into a leadership development program, kind of checking a box of development that HR had given me because we all had to do this, but it wasn't as intentional, purposeful. It wasn't as thoughtful as I think I am about it today. But I saw the impact it had on them and how they showed up differently, literally the second day of class, because this was a multi-month cohort. And that really changed my mind. And that to me was, okay, there's power here. I can see the outcome and the potential of what this gentleman first and what these other 4 who went through this program did. So what I could do and what others could do to make my team better. And that was really my moment and said, I'm going to work really hard to develop people. It's part of what I need to do to give back into seeing their growth, the positive impact it had on their development, their ability to lead in our organization and to create unique value, really reinforced for me the value of developing people and kind of was one of the starting points for me in why I try to do what I do today.
So good, Ken. But by the way, who was that mystery questioner?
I think that was Kath Marston.
That was indeed Kath Marston, one of my favorite people in the world. And when I had the opportunity to bring on someone to run my company as a general manager, she was numero uno. So, yeah.
Great choice and a great friend. So I spoke with her earlier today.
Too funny. That's too funny. You mentioned IT Skill Builder, something that you've leveraged in a lot of companies. And I think of your Houston CIO friend, Wayne Schertz, leveraged that years ago. And he had a great mantra. He said, as far as assessing his people, he said, I need to know you to grow you. And I know you think very similar to that in terms of, how you...
Absolutely. We use part of it as well, where I take the heat map across the department as a whole, and I break it down with just my managers versus individual contributors and look at the heat map report and kind of see where is a group, and I take all the names off and I'm like, where is a group? I don't want to know who. I want to know where our strengths and weaknesses are, so that I can help put some programs together to focus on those areas for improvement. And it's been a great way to do that. So I love Wayne's statement, got to know you to grow you. And I like it, making it data-driven, not just an emotional thing. I think it helps us focus on the right areas for each individual.
Yeah, so good. Bucket number 3, Ken, is around execution and discipline. And so, sometimes you got to just put the nose to the grindstone, right? We got to get the work done. And, how do you balance, moving fast like you do, but being disciplined to stay the course, finish strong with your teams? Is there a Ken-ism there that stands out?
Yeah, yes, there's 2. I think urgent isn't always important. Because we've got to understand, right? If everything's the most critical thing on the table, then nothing is, right? Understanding what's really going to make a difference and fit with our corporate strategy and those objectives we're trying to meet, and make sure we're not just doing work to do work's sake. We're focusing on the right areas. And the other one is own the outcome, right? And excuses don't move the ball. But I got to back to my football analogies. Oh, great, the guy was bigger than me, and That's an excuse. Let's own the outcome. We know what we got to get delivered. We're going to be successful, hopefully more often than we fail. We won't be successful every time, but own the outcome, and let's figure out how we don't get there. Learn a lesson from it and be able to apply it so we can continue to own it for the next time. But it isn't always about moving fast. I mean, sometimes it feels that way, but often when it does mean if everything's so critical, like I said earlier, you have to understand how those things impact the desired income, so you know where to focus. Where do I have to go fast? Where can I go a little bit slower and find the balance? Because if we were running at 100 miles an hour the whole time, it's not sustainable. We're gonna burn out. There's no marathon runner or long distance runner that goes the same speed the entire time, right? They're going to burn out. We have to find that right balance for our organization. So I think it's important to understand the importance of what's going on in your organization, the goals, the objectives, your corporate strategy, so you know where to step on the gas and where to pull back, because the expectation, even going fast, is you deliver high quality results, right? So when in delivering the high quality results, you've got to have that balance. You can't finish strong if you're tired and worn out. You've got to be able to take it for the marathon. You've got to be able to run that whole way. You may start out a little quick in the beginning, give yourself a cushion against some of the competitors. You get into your stride and find that balance as you're moving along, so you have that burst to finish really strong at the end. And I think a lot of that is the same thing, the way you can tell the story to your teams to help keep them going, especially when you do some of these very long projects that we do in IT, right? You get big system migrations or new development projects that are lots of hundreds and thousands of requirements and involve so many people in your organization. They don't just happen overnight. And if you just sprint out of the gate and thinking we're going to go get it all right this second, we're not going to have the energy to be successful and finish strong at the end. And so I think for me, it's telling that story. The other part, again, is understanding your business cycles, right? We go through different ups and downs based on the economy, maybe just even timeliness from a year perspective. Think about a public company. I've got to get all my quarterly reporting of what goes on, or any company, just from their month-end closes. You know when there's certain sets of activity. So that's when certain times in between, when I step on the gas, when I let off the gas a little bit, understanding your own cycles of your business, which gives you a way to help manage that burnout on your own team and not let them get worn down. I think another part of going fast and trying to figure out that speed and finishing strong is recognizing not all things are as important as the others, and understanding that priority, but it's also that you might have multiple business units that need to move at different speeds. They all don't go 100 miles an hour, right? And one might be going 100 miles an hour while one's only going 50, and it might change later. So I think staying very in tune with those business leaders and what the needs are, what's driving their organization, is really important. So it kind of goes back to our relationships side of things, and back to understanding the strategy. You're going to find, I think, all of these pillars we're talking about are connected, right? They can't stand really on their own. So understanding that is important, that your business does operate in different cycles, will help you and help your team finish strong and be able to deliver on what's necessary.
Ken, I think, we talked earlier about your number one legacy is going to be around your gifts as a people developer. I think a close number two would be Ken, master communicator. Real gift, even people getting a sense just listening to you now for the time we've had together. But how do you approach communication? How do you get people to understand? How do you deliver great messages? I know you've got a number of great Ken-isms there that guide you and your, as you communicate and as you coach people on how to better communicate.
I try. It's taken a lot of time. I'll admit I've taken some courses on how to present. I've thrown myself up on stage before without any real experience, as I felt it was going to help me and tell the story of our team, and something I needed to learn. But I think one of the first things is not about me talking; it's about listening. The ability to listen, to understand, not to respond, is probably my favorite of these Ken-isms, if you will, because listening to understand, not to respond, really helps you know what it is you have to say, how you need to act and respond to communicate. Because communication isn't all just talking, right? There's so many mechanisms and channels of what we do. Your body language, the things you don't say, is communicating, and that's really important. I think you got to think about that full picture. But I think it starts with understanding your audience. As a CIO, we have to communicate with so many different people. You're talking to your CEO and the rest of your executive team. Well, you could be talking to your board, you're talking with your direct reports, you're talking with everyone else in your department, you're with accounting and finance and HR, and they all have a different way they want to communicate, a different understanding of what's going on. So I think you need to understand your audience in order to communicate effectively. And that may mean delivering that same message multiple different ways and in different styles in order to make sure it is truly understood. You really have to be, so I really try to be intentional in how I communicate with the words I use for those specific audiences. It may vary in cadence and even the style. Some may be a little more casual and some may be a little bit more formal. Some may be a hallway conversation. Some may be a sit-down meeting. It depends on the type of message you need to convey, when you need to convey it, and who those people are. So it's on me as the communicator there to adjust those channels, not look for them to tell me what to do. I've got to understand and be able to cut through all the rest of the noise they're hearing, tell the right stories, so that it sticks. And I think that's really important. And one probably I have to kind of guide my teams on to do more of is the storytelling. Um, you know, I can change those stories to reinforce a point or behavior. You always have some of those stock stories in your pocket that can be used for a lot of things, and then you hope you don't tell it too many times to the same audience. You gotta have up and come up with some new ones. So I like to I don't want to say steal, but I'll borrow from my friends and hear a story that they have, and you go, well, I didn't quite live that exactly, but I get what the message is, and how can I adjust that to fit and resonate with my company, with my people on my team. And I think that's really, really important. Obviously, as we've heard today, I go back to a lot of my sports analogies because that's what I know. That's where I grew up. I did a lot living in day in and day out at the practice field with great coaches and players and teammates. And it's an easy way to connect the dots to a lot of things. I do it with a lot of musical theater because that's what my kids do. My kids didn't play sports; they do musical theater, and I've learned a lot from that in my own communication style on how to perform. I was sitting one day even with my son, driving him home from school to rehearsal, and asked if he wanted to go over his lines. He said, "Dad, I don't know my lines." I'm like, "Today's dress rehearsal. You perform tomorrow." He's like, "No, no." He's like, "I know my lines. I don't know my lines sitting here in the car. I know my lines in the setting of how we practice, how we rehearse to get ready for that show." And it was kind of light bulb went on for me, and in my own speaking, that I don't do enough practice and rehearsal. And being able to do that better, you learn from your kids too about how to communicate better. But it was taking from a thing that they do in theater. But part of that also for me, it's more intentional, and you have to have a plan. There's a script when they're up on stage. They know where people are going to stand. They know how they're going to deliver the message with what type of emotion. They know when, kind of adjust or waiting for someone else to speak or some action or some musical cue or lighting cue. And they practice and they rehearse it over and over and over again. And I need to do that too. And I was never doing it enough, or at least not doing it well enough. And it's something I learned from them to apply to my own communication style, whether I'm getting ready for a one-on-one and there's just some bulleted notes that I'll talk through, or whether I'm getting ready to sit down in front of the board, or I'm getting the opportunity to go up at a conference and stand up on stage and do a presentation. That practice, that preparation really makes a difference in how well your message is going to be communicated and how well that's going to stick, how well you prepared your stories to resonate with that particular audience. And then, going back to that part of communication, kind of my first Ken-ism there, listening to understand, not to respond. If you don't listen really well to your people, I don't know how you're going to have the right clarity in the message you need to deliver to them. And you need to know what's going to resonate with them, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, especially kind of going back to our other one, the speed. When things are happening really quickly and a lot is going on, and we are, as a company today, are a perfect example of that. A lot of growth through acquisition, a lot of projects going on. There's a lot of things coming at all of us. And if I'm not crystal clear about where their priorities need to be, they may be focusing on the wrong thing. And we needed them to go left, and they were heading down right, thinking it was the right thing. But that's because means I didn't do the right things to communicate to them. And if I don't listen, I can't do that. And so that's probably my biggest thing is listen to understand, not to respond.
Next one is around kind of character. People start to see how all these buckets kind of reinforce each other. This is character, consistency. One of my favorite Ken-isms I'd love to have you talk about, as well as others that relate here, but be the thermostat, not the thermometer. What does that mean in Ken's world?
Yeah, you're kind of controlling the narrative and the environment by being the thermostat. A little hotter or colder, what do we need to be, as opposed to just reporting on what it is. To me, that's about setting the stage, being authentic, being the character and the way you want to show up. And I think that's really important. I say this one all the time is don't be Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? Your team needs to know which Ken is going to show up every day, and they want it to be the same guy. They don't want one day where you're locked inside and you're not talking to anybody, and another day you're coming out yelling and screaming about something. They need consistency, and they need to be your true you when you do that authentic self, and that's what that thermostat, not the thermometer, really is. I don't know. You get to set that stage, but you've got to be consistent, and I want them to be consistent in their style and leadership. So I really try very hard, day in and day out, to show up as my authentic self. I think inconsistency in you doesn't make it easier for your team. And I said, there's a lot of things going on. It's hard. So don't make it harder by being inconsistent. Your people need to know what to expect from you each day. I think that's part of being authentic is also being vulnerable. Love one of the books. Obviously, I love all yours, but there's one by Brene Brown, Dare to Lead, and it talks about being vulnerable and being authentic. And when I read that, I'm like, oh, that's me. That's what I do. Sometimes people have told me, you shouldn't share so much about yourself. I'm like, no, I'm going to do that because I think when your people know what motivates you, who you are, what drives you, they know those stories, they hear about your kids, and in turn, I want to learn about their families, their hobbies, their motivations, because it helps me make sure I'm helping them grow, doing the right things. When you get to know them, when you can walk in and know and say, hey, how's your daughter Sally doing at school? And they just started high school. That means a lot. And it says you were listening to them. You were taking time to get to know them, which is going to make them sometimes just do that much better a job than they were doing for your organization, because you're building a real relationship. And I think that's really, it's really, really important. So having conversation about family and hobbies is something I do. I share with my teams who I am. They know that my stories about playing football and baseball. They know about kids in theater. They know about my golf game and whatnot. But it's all related to what we do and getting to know each other. And I think that's about the consistency of how you show up. It's about being authentic. And again, you've got to understand them. Otherwise, you don't know what's important to them. You don't know when they might be having a bad day, or they might need you to give them a little leeway on a deliverable if you're not familiar with, where their kids are, or whatever other hobbies, or their dog or their cat, whatever that is. You take the time to go ahead and ask about that and learn about that. Again, intentionally. It's very purposeful in doing that. I genuinely want to know, and I genuinely care. But there's another part to it. Learning about that helps me lead them, helps me provide the guidance that they need in the way that they need it in order to be successful. And ultimately, I'd say they help me connect, help me be a better leader.
So well said. And this next bucket is a really rich, juicy one. It's around courage, resilience, kind of goes hand in hand with what you were just sharing. But before we go there, I've got a mystery questioner, but I think it's going to help us give us a little context here. So let's listen in and tell us who this is, and you're going to love the question for sure.
I've been very fortunate to learn and develop under your mentorship and leadership over the last year. And ever since we met a few months prior to that, you have consistently reinforced the importance of change management and developing our people. I also know you have a genuine passion for giving back in this capacity outside of our organization and throughout your larger network. Was there a defining moment in your career that instilled the desire to become the servant leader that you are?
That's Alex. All right. Yeah. He's been, since I've been here, RelaDyne, getting to work on the team together. Great guy and great leader in his own right. Think about change. I mean, change is constant in every aspect of our life, home, family, work. Everything's constantly changing. So I think you have to accept that fact and learn how to manage it to be successful. So yes, to me, it's change leadership and change management. I do put a distinction between the two. Are two critical capabilities I look to always strengthen in myself and in my teams. And I believe as a leader, we have a responsibility, excuse me, to prepare our people and our teams and organizations for that change. And the question also mentioned a little bit about giving back into not just your own team at your organization, which should be pretty natural, right? We want our team and our people to be the best we can to deliver on those results that we need as a company. But I'm very engaged in the outside community of my technology peers, engaged in the local community, even all the way at the high school and levels and lower, and looking to help develop those future leaders. And I think um, I hadn't thought about the specific reason why till this song came out called "Humble and Kind" by Tim McGraw. And it says, when you get where you're going, don't forget to turn back around and help the next one in line. Now, I'm not done in what I'm trying to do, but I am at a point in my career and have been for a long time where there's someone else to help. And I'll look back and go, where is that? What can I do to help someone else? And I think I've had a great career, but as I said, I'm not done yet. Lots more to do. And I've had great mentors and coaches that have helped shape me and have played a big part in my success. And I feel I have a responsibility to do the same for others. And that's inside and outside my organization. I am very engaged in giving back my time to the technology community, whether it's SIM, which you've been a part of, and helping that, or other programs. I've served as a mentor in your TechLX program as an example, because I believe we do have a responsibility to generate and help elevate that next level of great leaders. And I think it's very rewarding when you do see someone you've had the privilege of working with advance in their career, whether their goal was to be the next CIO at an organization, or they even just wanted to be a better version of themselves in the role that they're doing, getting to see them get some recognition for that, or being really great on a project that they were engaged in, and knowing maybe you had a little bit of that you helped provide some nugget of information that influenced that. But I also believe in working in my local community to develop the next generation of our leaders, our future workforce. So I've been very engaged in something called the Energy Institute High School in Houston for several years. It's STEM-based, project-based learning school. And I believe also in being really well-rounded. And that's part of that. I've come to love musical theater, which I'd mentioned with my kids. And so I spent a lot of time helping community theater to support the growth of those kids and the work their directors are doing. So I think every person wanting to be in technology should get up on stage at least one time as a part of a company and perform in a show and learn what that's like. I think it helps with their confidence, their teamwork, their communication, and I think it's extremely valuable for the career. I wish I did it when I was younger. When I was younger, I was like playing my football and baseball, being involved in sports. Theater, come on, that's over here. That's not for me. And I regret that today, seeing the value of what it has to offer for my kids. And I'll take my son, who recently graduated with his degree in cybersecurity. He's a tech geek, right? He's on the robotics team. He was doing cybersecurity. We made him go to theater. And he went reluctantly, but he came back, very a week before he got on stage for the first time, going, can I do this again? And that led to dance lessons and singing lessons and performing in some amazing audiences. And then little sister following in his footsteps, but having another level of talent that she just continues to take it, and excited to see where she goes. But it really helps people with that confidence and doing what they do. And so kind of combining that leadership development and giving back and that change portion that was asked of the question. I was at a workshop once at a conference, and we were asked, what do we do? And many people answered, oh, I'm just in IT, or, oh, I'm just in accounting. And the person running the workshop said, well, that really doesn't make me want to make you sound very interesting or make me want to go tell me more, right? So he challenged us to think about our brand statement. And he said, go back that night, whether you're going to the bar or another session, or whether you're in your hotel room or shower in the morning before you come back to my workshop on day 2. And he said, come up with a brand statement. He says, no more than 10 words, preferably only 5 to 7, that you don't vomit on somebody. You're just telling them something that goes, wow, that's interesting. Tell me more. And that's when you get to dive into the depths of the story. So a lot of thought went into that for me. And yes, at having a drink at the bar with a few people who knew me pretty well, someone came up and said, hey, yours should be around change. Now, they didn't know what it should be around change, but they said it should be around change. And so I thought about that, and I don't know whether it was, going to sleep that night or getting ready for the conference the next day. I came up with, I inspire and lead change. And so I got the opportunity. And so I got my 5 words. I got to share that in the workshop, and he's like, that's awesome. Tell me more. And so I was able to connect it to me in multiple different ways. As a CIO and a change leader, it's exactly what I do every single day, right? I am inspiring and leading our people to change in dealing with the projects and things that go on. I develop my people to help them show up as the best version of themselves, which is inspiring improvement and change in the individual. It's what I do in the community. It's about changing the community, whether it's with other technology professionals, high school students, or theater kids. It's about improvement and driving change. And then I think as a parent, you're always providing guidance to your children to help shape them to be strong, confident, intelligent, successful people. That's change, right? That's not how they were born. It's things that they need to learn from their parents, and it's in their community. It's been about driving change. And then I think lastly, I'm a consistent learner. Much like I see all the books on your shelf in the back there, I've got a large library at home, constantly reading, constantly talking to people, and trying to learn and be a better version of myself. Again, that's more change. That's change for me. And so I felt that little brand statement really hit home for me. And now as I get to do some coaching, I do the same exercise with a lot of the folks that I get to coach. I said, let's work on your end, try to get to 5 words. Because the first one is like a paragraph, and they've just thrown up
right.
like, no,
That's
bring that back.
powerful.
And so that's mine. I inspire and lead change.
Ken, I think you were being a little bit humble when you talked about all that you do to give back, but I think it's a good time for us to chat about the Tech for Good scholarship, right? As you said, you have been a consistent mentor in our TechLX leadership program, 9-month program. So today, as you know, you have a chance to recognize one of the STEMs or STEAM organizations that you've been involved in, and they're going to get a scholarship to that program. So somebody come to mind you'd like to recognize?
Yeah, I'd like to the Friends of Energy Institute. They're the nonprofit that I helped create that supports the Energy Institute High School. I think the board of Friends, along with the principal of the Energy High School, can determine who's the best person specifically to give that to their current students.
Well, we're going to put that up on the website. I want people to understand who they are. You've been involved with them since the early days. That's having a real impact and being a great feeder system. So
thank you for that. I really appreciate you offering that. So thank you.
Yeah, I want to go learn more about them myself. And Ken, I think we're nearing about $500,000 now that we've committed in scholarships. So it's thanks to Kath and Jill and Erica and Tracy, the team, we've been able to really do some great things here. So thanks for
That's
being
fantastic. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Great.
Got another mystery questioner for you.
Okay.
Someone that goes back a ways with you, and I can't wait to hear your response to him. So let's check it out.
In our journey together at MRE, I think the highlight of our time together there was the CIO 100 award we won for Audix, a truly innovative solution we were able to commercialize at the time. You have managed to find ways to drive innovation across the many organizations you have led, both in good times and bad, and large companies and small companies. What is your secret sauce for hitting the innovation green and making a birdie?
Who is that?
That is Stephen Webster. I love he's getting the innovation side and the sports golf stuff into play. We always need to make more birdies, right?
That's right.
No, it's a great question. It was a great opportunity to take what Audix was an internal IT project that we were able to take to market and create a new revenue stream for the company. It still exists for them today, and they're still they're still marketing it. It's still a valuable tool. That was really rewarding because that's something different you don't typically see when an internal IT team can go ahead and do that. But as you think about the secret sauce, I don't know that I think I go out there and go, where's the next innovative thing to go focus on? It kind of really happens from understanding our business priorities and strategy, right? I think as you understand the desired outcomes, the business results we're looking to achieve as a company, it helps shape what you need to do and where those opportunities may be from when we think about something that's more innovative for an organization to help them grow. You know, with Stephen said, he gave it audits, but he also said you've been able to find a way to do that at many different companies. Audix was the internal IT project, taking it to create a new revenue stream. But innovation comes from so many different places, and where those opportunities, you see the opportunity. I created something called the Strategic Partner Program. It was really about vendor management when I was at Global, and we've been able to take it from company to company. We won some awards for it, but more importantly, it became embedded in the fabric of our culture and how we manage the relationship with our vendor community, and not a negative one. It was about creating a very positive, and it was started with the idea of we didn't want any of these negative event-driven relationships. And how do we do that? Leverage our community for the betterment of our organization. And it was really innovative at the time. I've gotten to speak on it all over the place. We also did a mobile payment at the pump and loyalty program, one of the first companies to offer mobile payment. And it was modeled after Starbucks, and being able to go and learn from them to go use that and how we created ours. Again, one of those ones you just needed to look for an opportunity as we were expanding into the gas station business. And we needed an identity of our own because we supported 9 different flags, 9 different brands of gas stations. And I think about one I called my Uber-like dispatch solution for our trucks in the frac sand world. Was a very unique product, and how we were able to kind of model from Uber what they do to create and manage a fleet of contract drivers to deliver our products. And then I think, there's just been so many opportunities to create value-added services for our customers, support revenue growth and sustainability. But really, the combination of all of these have contributed to tens of millions of dollars to the bottom line. And so going back to understanding the outcomes, we were looking to grow revenues. We were looking to grow our EBITDA. And all of these, I'm trying to find opportunity at what the company needed at that moment. And I mean, the strategic partner program is an easy one to go back to, even though it's not pure technology like all these other things. I had taken on my first real big budget as a CIO and trying to figure out how to manage it, and the hundreds of vendors we were dealing with. And as the new CIO, and every new CIO I guarantee has gone through this, your LinkedIn profile gets blown up, your email gets blown up, the phone gets blown up of all these vendors wanting to talk to you, right? They're trying to take advantage of that honeymoon period and getting to know you, and hopefully they can grow their business footprint with you. And that, to me, is a negative event-driven, right? You didn't know me yet. You don't know my company needs. You're just trying to sell me a shiny object. And no offense to them, that's what they're trying to do and grow their business. But I wanted to change the story. And to me, it was finding that opportunity and creating a new way that we engage was an innovative way of putting the program together at the time, and innovative for that company, and really paid off a lot of key dividends. So if I think about secret sauce, to me, it's having open mind to all of these ideas, because you never know where the next great one is going to come from. I've gotten a lot of these ideas. While I might get some credit for it, it's a lot of people involved in coming up with these and executing on these. So I've always tried to create a mechanism for my people to bring the ideas to the table, because you don't know where it's going to come from. I can't be everywhere and see everything, and I need everyone on the team to be thinking about where we're going. So back to anchoring the why. Again, we're trying to connect all the dots here. Understanding the why of what we're doing for the company is going to help people think about opportunities for driving the business forward. So providing that mechanism is really proven quite valuable. I'll challenge them to bring ideas to the table, reward them for ideas worth investigating further, and reward them even more if those ideas turn into real solutions, right? It also serves as a teaching tool, because I'm asking them to develop a business case to support their idea, which many of the people haven't necessarily had the opportunity to do before. So there's a learning in there as well, and continued development, even though we're chasing an innovative idea. It's also part of those keys to success. That secret sauce is about embracing the art of the possible. There's no silly ideas. You never know what's gonna stick and what's really gonna change the game. Having a strong peer network to learn from, look for ideas from other companies is good. Let's take it and adjust a bit for our needs. And this kind of ties into one of the other Ken-isms about recognizing that the status quo has an expiration date. Change is inevitable. I'd rather be driving that change than having it controlling me. And I think the other part of being able to find the secret sauce is being able to determine, kind of t-shirt sizing, the business value of any of these opportunities to really decide if it's worth the effort. You can't chase every one of them, right? So having some context there, which goes back to understanding your business needs and business expected outcomes, really has been my secret sauce. Having that program, eyes and ears to the ground to see and hear what may be happening and to find where that is. That was a great question. I love it. That was a while ago when Stephen and I did that.
Yeah, great job, Stephen. Congratulations again on the CO 100 award. That's a big deal. And so, Ken, we're kind of winding down these last two buckets. I'm going to ask, we're going to do a quick, let's do kind of like a rapid fire, if you would. So
Sure.
I do want to cover them. One is around business acumen and impact. So you've got a whole bucket there. My favorite is understanding the company's cash register. And it just does connect to some of the other ones. Can you give that a quick answer on that one?
Yeah. I mean, understand the company's cash registers, no matter the role we play in the organization, whether you're the CEO or you're the janitor and everywhere in between, we all play a role. The cash register has to work effectively and efficiently, and is what I've used ever since I got into the convenience store space when I was back then, because we had a physical cash register. It was an easy way to help tell the story and get people to understand how what they do contributes to our company's success. So everyone needs to understand how they make that cash register work.
So good. So good. Last one, Ken, is around professional persistence. You've talked a lot about so many topics, but just sometimes it just comes down to just grit, right? And one of my favorite Ken-isms is the grind creates the shine.
Absolutely. Yes, the grind creates the shine. It goes back to the golf one. I love playing golf. I'm a pretty good golfer, but I'm not leaving my CIO role anytime soon to go join the PGA Tour. We're not that good, not even close. And my golf game is a bit more of a grinder. I could be missing the fairway, punching out of the trees, but really struggling to try and find ways to make pars and birdies. It's not all fairways and greens. It's just kind of who we are as those low mid handicappers, right? But the scorecard shows the shine, right? Hopefully a lot of really good scores. Doesn't say this shot went in the woods and then he punched out over here, but stuck it close and made the one putt to make par. It's the same thing within IT. Sometimes we really have to grind and work hard. It might not all be perfect and smooth and rosy, and to get to the expected outcome and still be able to deliver that high quality deliverable. So, and we often have scars to prove it, right? Those are the lessons learned that we go through and do that. So it is a grind that we have to go through, and hopefully, when you do it, you get more birdies than you get bogeys. But when you do get a bogey, you got to learn from those mistakes. And just like in golf, after my round, if I kept missing the fairway, my next practice session is going to be working on that driver and trying to straighten it out. We think about the grind we go through to deliver for these projects and initiatives for our company. Every single one, we got to go back and do that postmortem and take those lessons learned. And then how do I apply that? How do I fix that to be better the next time? So the grind is what helps make it shine.
Perfect. We're gonna work with that. And Ken, thanks for taking on my challenge a while back to get these great nuggets down on paper. And I'm glad it's been a good exercise for you. And, for our listeners, I want to challenge them to go back, listen to this again, grab those that speak loudest to you and, have that leader as learner lens, have that leader as teacher lens as they go through that. And it's just such a great framework that you share with us. And Ken, if you've got some more time, I would love to dive deeper into that number one pillar around people and talent for the article next week on CIO.com. So
Absolutely. I've got some more time. I really appreciate you having me here to do this and share this. I loved you kind of pushing me to put these things down on paper. I think I learned a lot in what I do and the intention, what I maybe not always have thought about, that just kind of flow. And it was a good exercise for me. So thank you.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again for your time, and everyone for tuning in. Share this out with your network. There's so many golden nuggets here. And next time you'll hear from Mike Anderson, a colleague of both of ours, who played center football in college. So we'll talk a little bit about him and his journey as well. But until then, I wish everyone well, and thank you again, Ken.